Okay, looks like I am live. Welcome to our Success Mastermind for Monday, the 20th of September, 2021. John Lavenia here with you, actually back with you after a beautiful, I guess I can call it a vacation. Just decided to take the family up north to, I'm sure you guys know what state I'm in. I'm in the Grand Canyon state, right? My daughter had never been to the Grand Canyon, so we're like, let's do it. So we headed up to the Grand Canyon, had an experience there. Now she's all crazy. My daughter's all crazy about it. I can't wait to go back. And I was kind of hoping, maybe it's rocks. She likes to play applications on games and stuff. We're going to be out there in the wilderness, and actually, it wasn't the wilderness. We were in a little town right there. For any of you who've been to the Grand Canyon, there's a little village, but yeah, she's like, I can't wait to go back, and I want to hike the whole damn thing. For for any of you who haven't been there, I suppose I could show you pictures, or you could just Google it. But there's no picture that can do this thing justice. It's so immense. There's just no way. So anyway, that's what we did. We did have a different trip planned, and we decided at the last minute not to leave the country due to certain situations out of our control. So I am back here with you. This is the very first work thing that I've done. Hey, Daisy. Hey, Suzanne. Very first work thing that I've done since rolling back into town. By the way, we did bring the dogs. That was an interesting thing as well. They got to experience that. But I was just listening just now in preparation for my week. I was just listening to a lecture, which I think is a good thing to do, right? Audiobooks, lectures. Things that you can do while you're doing other tasks. In this case, the task I was doing was wiping down the entire interior of the van, so we can get the dog hair out of it and dirt and whatever else. But I was listening to a lecture, which was a beautiful reminder for me on the power of imaging. Now, this is not a new topic. Certainly, this has been around as long as there have been people thinking thoughts and intending to express themselves in some way with increase, with having better stuff, lifestyle, relationships, health, money, right? There's this idea of imaging and visualization. And I know this has been something that many of you probably have experienced training on, but it's not something you need a whole lot of training on if we just remember to do it, because we're going to be doing it all day, every day anyway, whether we know it or not. In other words, as the old saying goes, that which we think about, we bring about. But here's the other so-called cliche that a lot of people don't necessarily go into agreement with as readily. And that is something that Napoleon Hill said, which is that which the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve. Now, on one hand, we could say, well, yeah, I think about it, I bring about it. You know what? I keep thinking about, a black Toyota Camry. And you know what? I keep seeing black Toyota Camrys. That's amazing. And the next thing you know, you wind up with a black Toyota Camry. Okay, so we've seen things like that. And maybe you're not into black Toyota Camrys. I don't have one. I'm not looking to buy one. But if I just kept that image of that particular product in my mind, it sets up something. We could call it an attractor, or we can call it a predisposition. I would call it a predisposition to accepting that thing, that product, that image in my life. In other words, I've become familiar with it. Think of election season, where you see all the voting signs, all those coroplast signs all over the street corners. Vote for Bob Smith, Bob Smith, Bob Smith, Bob Smith. And every time you drive down the street, you see Bob Smith right on the signs. And then, assuming you wander into a polling booth, who are these people? I know Bob Smith sure gets out there a lot. He must be really interested in serving the public, which is a terrible assumption, by the way. But you've seen his name 10 million times. And are you more or less likely to pull the handle on Bob Smith, or to press the button, or however it is in your voting jurisdiction? McDonald's. Okay, so why does McDonald's still advertise? Is there anyone here who doesn't know what McDonald's is or what they sell? Probably not. Okay, they're everywhere you look. There they are. We could say they're omnipresent. Okay, well, why do they still advertise? Because when you're driving down the street, and on one side of the street is the Golden Arches, and the other side of the street is Burger King or Wendy's, you keep seeing those Golden Arches. You keep hearing the commercials. You are more likely to pull into the Golden Arches, McDonald's, than you are to their competitors. So top of mind awareness, that's what that advertising is about. Can they quantify that? Can they say, oh, well, because we put out X millions of dollars worth of brand awareness advertising, that we got X number of more customers than we would have gotten without it? No, that's really loose. And only multi-billion-dollar companies can play that game because it's so not quantifiable, okay, because it's so loose, right? You getting your small business running and all this, right? You should be more interested in direct response advertising. Here's the the promotion with the coupon code or with the response mechanism or something where you can quantify, yes, I spent this much money on advertising and I got this much response in terms of clicks, leads, sales, what have you. All right. So that is a much smarter approach if you don't have millions of dollars to just throw into the wind to see what happens. Okay. Which is probably the case. But the principle still remains, is that which you keep thinking about, you bring about. It keeps happening again and again. Now, if you've got an adversity or an aversion to black Camrys or Golden Arches or whatever, then every time you see that, you could set up a rejection. There's a bit of a cycle of I reject that. I don't want the black car. I'd like the white car or whatever it happens to be. So that's real as well. Okay. But that could be like a little thorn in your side where we look at things that we don't necessarily want, or they're put in our face and we can reject them. But I'm here to tell you that we must supplant that which we don't want with what we do. Because if we can conceive it and believe it, as Napoleon Hill said, we can achieve it. Now, why do we go into a state of, I'll speak for myself, why have I gone into a state of doubt with that one? Why can I accept glibly, flippantly, that what we think about, we bring about? Okay. But why is it sometimes a doubtful thing for people when we hear some guy like Hill say, if you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it? Well, maybe because I've conceived and believed that I could do this thing back in my past, and it didn't happen. And so therefore, let me doubt that it could happen. It sounds nice. It's some good personal development stuff, but is that real? Okay, well, let's look at the difference between the two now. So you think about, you bring about, conceive and believe, you can achieve. What was the main difference between those two scenarios? The one that I'm seeing here is frequency, which is dependent on what? A deliberate effort or a habit. So in the case of the advertisement that got put in your face again and again and again, there was frequency of that thought, that image, that visualization of you, eating the hamburger or driving the black car, right? So that was frequently introduced to you through effort. Now, was it your effort? No, it wasn't my effort. Somebody else put the commercial on the TV or however it was, that which impinged on my attention frequently through effort, perhaps not mine, but a frequently executed decision nonetheless. And so now we get into the other side. Okay, so conceive and believe, it can achieve. Okay, well, how frequently are we efforting to keep those images on top of mind? If we were as persistent, here's the consideration. If we were as persistent as McDonald's is in showing you their hamburger stand, what do you think? Do you think we might be more likely to have those things show up in our lives? You see, it's one thing to have a fleeting thought. I've got an idea. That would be nice. I could conceive of that. Yes. I believe that that could be real. All right, now let me get back onto, whatever else I was doing and whatever other images are being shown to me consistently, persistently through many other efforts, not my own. So where's the shortfall with all this? Right here, my willingness or unwillingness to consistently keep in top of mind that which I say I want, that which I've conceived and believed that I could accomplish in earnest. Not, I'm going to go ahead and, give it a shot. I'll try, try. Do any of us still use that word? Try. No, I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to figure out that which I refuse to live without. McDonald's refuses to live without customers. I refuse to live without that thing, the house, the car, the fit body, the relationship, and we could even take this into like the spiritual realm, right? So those contributions to that church, that philanthropic organization, those things that are pleasing to me, I refuse to be denied that. And because of that level of intent, just like Toyota or McDonald's or whoever, Apple, right, has that level of intent when promoting to you, I'm going to promote to me with that level of intent and consistency and effort. Now, we've talked about, and many of you have practiced this, hopefully, some of this imaging, the dream boards or, affirmations, the things where you look up from your desk and there's the picture of the thing. We actually did this. I know I mentioned this once before. I did this with my wife. She wanted this minivan, which is called the Chrysler Pacifica Limited, and not just anyone, the fully loaded limited model. Okay, and she decided she wanted white. Okay, and so I went on to the Chrysler website and I pulled down pictures from it, and I made a little collage and printed it out on a standard piece of letter size paper and hung it over her desk so she could see it at all times, right? And this is interesting because some of the pictures, I wasn't sure about the interior, like which color leather and all this kind of stuff. And I also put that it was going to be paid for by, we weren't even going to buy it. It was going to be bought for us by the company, one of the companies we work with who has, bonuses, and one of those is a stipend, for the car. And so I even put that there, paid for, right? And so came time where we had qualified for this bonus. And so we went over to one of the car dealerships, and they had a couple of the vans in there that she was interested in, but none of them were the right color. And also the service was terrible. We couldn't, you'd think that you'd walk onto a car lot and you'd have 10 salesmen. We had none. We stood there for like a half hour. Anyway, I guess the car business has changed. So we went down the road to this other place. We actually did a little search on the thing, right? Oh yeah, I see. Oh, they got a white one over there. It's a limited. Okay, let's drive down there. So we drove all the way across town, and we walked in, and we saw the car, and it was spectacular. We wound up getting the car. It was exactly all the features, everything she wanted. But we weren't sure about the interior color. It has like this saddle brown leather. And we were thinking maybe the gray, the smoky gray leather, or the creamy light colored leather. Anyway, we get the car home. We decide, you know what, we're going to go with this car. This is the one. We get the car home and we look at the pictures on the little dream board thing that I made. And wouldn't you know it, because I couldn't tell in the light, but now that I could see it in real life, and now I can compare it to the pictures on the board, that's the color of the pictures that I took down. Unbelievable. So we kept thinking about it, and we brought it about, and it was paid for by this other, by this promotion. We didn't even have to, we paid for it and then we get reimbursed. Okay, you get the point. It was exactly what we put on the board, even though I wasn't sure about the color of the leather. So be careful, right? I guess the message is be careful with this. Be careful not only with what we allow in from other people's efforts to impinge on our attention, but let's also be careful about and be very precise, if you can be, right, about what you put in front of your face all day, every day. Now, if part of your experience is the relationship and holding hands on the beach and whatever, you don't have to figure out which beach is that in the picture. You don't even have to see yourself in the picture. It could just be two hands holding, with the sunset and the beach. Fine, right? So you can be a bit more general about that. Just be sure that it's something that's pleasing to you. And because if this is the thing you're gonna, every time you look up from your desk, or every time you get up in the morning, you go brush your teeth, or the last thing before you go to bed at night, if this is the image that's going to keep working for you, right? Just like the McDonald's commercial keeps working for them. And I don't know how many of you have woken up and decided, man, I can't wait to get to McDonald's. Who knows? Okay. But I'm sure there are people like that, right? Every day it's the Egg McMuffin, the coffee, and the hash browns, right? So, and how do I know that? How do I know that? I haven't been to McDonald's in a long time, but my goodness, have I seen McDonald's commercials, especially as a kid. And yeah, we showed up and we got the Egg McMuffin and the hash browns and the coffee, or the orange juice as a kid, right? Again and again and again. Repetition, deliberate repetition. The good news about this is that if you make that effort, there's lots of good news about this, but one of the pieces of good news is if you make that effort and you develop a habit on doing this, you could actually go into, you could actually fall off the rails a little bit. You can get into a little bit of a conscious mind argument, a little bit of cognitive dissonance. But if you keep producing that same image again and again and again, subconsciously, it's moving in that direction. You're moving in that direction. Even if you fall off the rails a little bit. A lot of times people think I've got to have absolute perfection with this stuff. What the hell is that? What is absolute perfection? I don't know. I haven't achieved that. Okay, so you could get a little bit off the rail. Think of it like this: if you had two different roads going in different directions, and you had a little bit wobbly, right? You kind of hit the gutter here, you hit the gutter there, but you're still on the right road. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so same thing here. If whichever road you're on, right? Whether it's deliberately choosing, the right thoughts, and then hitting the gutter here and there, hitting the curb a little bit, learn how to drive, learn how to drive this thing, right? It's still, you're going down the right road. So you can give yourself a little bit of a break. But I'll tell you what, if you don't have reserves, I think of it like this: if you have a very lean condition in terms of your own visualization, your own power of thought, and then you hit the rails just a little bit, you're off the road, you're off the cliff. Like I was just in Grand Canyon, right? There's not a whole lot of forgiveness there, right? I mean, you don't step off that rock, otherwise it's like down you go, right? So that's why you don't step off that rock. Okay, so you have very little reserve. Not much of a shoulder on the road, so to speak. Okay, very little threshold between going off the cliff and staying on the road. So make the road wider. How do we do that? We do that by creating a good reserve of imagery, that which we keep thinking about again and again and again. And I'll tell you what, this is, I think, as important as it ever has been. I could say more important than ever, but I think that would be a little bit short-sighted, because all the cycles of life that keep coming and going right now, we've got a lot of people who have been engrossed in negative thinking or suggestions to the contrary of your ability to reach your goals. Maybe abandoning of goals, maybe throwing your hands in the air and saying, what's the use anyway? Maybe just wondering that, hopefully somebody or something else will do something for you. There's a lot of this going around. But it always has been that way, right? We've seen that, and the faces change, and the jurisdictions change, and the circumstances change. But throughout history, there's been the tendency for man to be lazy in his use of thought, and to allow others to do his thinking for him. So if that's the case, if that's the situation you find yourself in, is that you've been watching the news and you've been going into a state of agreement with, something else needs to happen for you to be able to do what you want to do with your life. Well, then we need to take a look at that, and I think be very deliberate about what we're choosing to think, and to counter that. If you have so much weight on this side saying that you can't, we've got to counter this deliberately, and nobody else can do this for us. I'm giving you some reminders right now of things you could do, but it's up to you to do it, right? What do you want? Profound question, and one that we probably don't ask ourselves enough. What do I want? Like, for real, never mind being reasonable and all this. Like, what do I really want? What game do I want to play? What product do I want to produce, right? The product of, having worked, the product of my labor, the spoils of victory, right? The end result, right? That's the product. What am I producing here? What do I want to produce? And then be very clear with yourself about that. And it may be something where you can conceive it, but not yet believe it. Okay, we'll work on that. And that comes through imaging, that comes through affirmation, autosuggestion, developing faith in your own ability to get what you want. But back to the original idea, what do I want, right? Faith in my ability to get what? Faith in my ability to accomplish, to produce, to affect what? And then not being vague about that. We tend to be vague if we just allow ourselves to be encumbered with all these ideas that we didn't originate. So we've got to be a bit inductive and not just deductive. We've got to be a bit more causative and less affected by those other causes. I think it's a profound thing to consider. And it's a great way to start our week. I mean, I'm just sitting down now after having not looked at a computer. Can you believe this, guys? I haven't looked at a computer in 3 days. I did look at my phone to get the weather report, but I don't know how many emails and calls and stuff I have back. I have no clue. But I'm going to decide today what I'm going to do. What am I going to produce? What do I want? Well, certainly I want to get back to all the people who are probably waiting to hear from me. But I also want to go to the next level in my life, in my business, in my spirituality, in my fitness, in my relationships, right? And so sometimes taking a step back is a nice, little reprieve, a little bit of a reset, and I can go and I can look and I can say, oh, that's serving me, that's not, that's serving this public, these customers, that's not, right? Cut that, turn up the volume on that, right? I can look a little bit more objectively now. But it's all based on that original question. What do I want for myself and for anyone who I'm having an effect with or on? It's I think, a much more responsible or causative way to think. And so, again, we can't do that if we're just being impinged upon all the time with, here's what you should do. You should go get hamburgers at McDonald's, right? You should. So can we go into a little bit of a state of disagreement with circumstances just for a moment and get into a state of inductive reasoning and recognition that we are in fact powerful in our use of thought. And in fact, that is where all of our successes come from, because the thought precedes the deed, the deed precedes the result, right? So if we can get back to basics here, what am I thinking about all day long? And to know what that is and to be deliberate about it, because I'm choosing to go in this direction now. I'm making choices. I'm being proactive, as Steve Covey talked about. And if you could say that honestly to yourself, well, good for you. You're in the top 3% of planet Earth, right? And now stop looking at all the reasons why you can't and just start thinking about all the different combinations, which may not be apparent to you, all the different opportunities, all the different things you could do to accomplish that which you've conceived and are starting to believe that you could accomplish. And then just remember, it's that frequency again and again and again. And then you think about it, you bring about it. You think about it, you bring it about. There you go. So that's all I'm going to say for today. It's good to be back here with you all. Some of my favorite people in the world, Ace and Cyril's here, Ali's here, Daisy, Edward, Lindsay, Mandy, Robin, Suzanne, and everybody watching on YouTube. So good to be here with you all. Any thoughts on this idea of deliberately visualizing? Ali, come on out, my friend. Ali is here with us.
Oh, this is just amazing. I've just spent 5 days doing the Bob Proctor 5 mega goal thing. And I've been reading your book, Integrity is Everything, and everything is just clicking into place for me. It's just absolutely fantastic. And I've spent obviously the last year and a half, reading these books, so many books, and everything that I've learned from you and this group. And I've been still, I've set up loads of different income streams, but still nothing is coming forth from them. And that's been, what is it that is stopping? And I think I'm now getting to the crux of it all, of what are those self-sabotaging thoughts. So much I've got rid of. I mean, it's just been incredible, but there are still a fear of failure, still that courage of putting out now, where I've just got to basically market everything because it's all ready and done. I've just got to market it. I think keeping that consistency and not looking at the results, keeping that vision and your goal and not looking at your present results and getting emotional about those present results, keeping that vibration going on where you want to get to, how key that is. And I've definitely not been as good as I should in terms of affirmations and visualizations, and I haven't been as consistent with that as I feel I should have been. So yeah, getting totally back on track now with affirmations, visualizations, and that key thing of vibration. That is so key. I can just feel when I start going down into my safe comfort zone vibration, which is just not where I want to be. And I've really got, and that's the work, isn't it? That is just the work. It's hard work to control your thoughts and to really be that disciplined every day. But yeah, it's been a fantastic time, and your book is so brilliant because you just put it so clearly and in layman's terms. It's really just, yeah, fantastic putting everything together, and great that you've been talking about it today, because I've completely been fully immersed in it over the last few days.
Wow.
So yeah,
well done. Thank you, Ali. And it's good to know that. Well, I'll say this: one of the best things that I think I've ever done was writing that book, because it just keeps delivering, right? Which is another reminder for me is to, John, create stuff that keeps delivering, right? Because what happens when I'm out of breath? That's interesting, right? So, but thank you for that perspective. I think, well, first of all, you're glowing, right? You're so up, Ali, and it's so good to see. And I think as you confront yourself in the mirror, right, you could see, we can tell when we're on the right path, can't we? Based on the emotional barometer, right? And we can also tell when we're off the path, because now I'm, I'm not sure, or indecisive, or encumbered with, everything else that's like, weighing me down, right? And we all go through this. So I'll take all the reminders I can get. Thank you, Ali. In this case, here we are coming up on the fourth quarter, which is a very auspicious time of year, right? And I know you've got e-commerce stuff going, and I know you've got various enterprises. What can you do? This is for everyone, not just Ali, but what can you do in the fourth quarter to really make a spectacle of yourself, right? Without all the doubts and all, well, what if that, and I'm not sure. No, what could you do to just execute, complete what you start, and hit 2022 really, really hard? Because look, one thing we know is constant in the universe, and that is change. All the conditions that you're dealing with right now will not be there later. right? Everything changes. So look ahead a little bit and decide, where do you want to be? Let's say 90 days from now, right? And then just suspend doubt just for a minute. Speaking of which, we have our book study today. We also have our e-commerce work group with Emma and Neil. So at 3 p.m. Eastern US time, we're going to get together for e-commerce work group. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern, and you can invite friends to this if you like, jlsuccessmastermind.com/books. That's our book study group. We're on chapters 4, 5, and 6 from Wake Up and Live by Dorothea Brand. So I know you're all very excited about that. Also on Wednesdays, I'll just mention real quick, on Wednesdays, we have Mandy Anderson with Books for Britain. And she right now is reviewing with any of our friends who want to show up in those time zones. Integrity is Everything by me. So deal with it. There you go. Thank you, Allie. Anybody else want to talk? Come on out, please. All right. Any other hands? All right. Well, I love you guys. I'm going to be back here at 9 p.m. Eastern for our book study group. For those of you who are going to be tuning into that. And of course, we record everything. So you can always catch the recordings. In the meantime, make it a great day. Decide what you want. Find something you can do to remind yourself of where you're going. Some image, something, right? And get online, download a picture. It worked with the minivan thing, right? By the way, it's a freaking awesome minivan. It's awesome. It's like a Lexus inside. It's gorgeous.